everybody. I'm Skip Alzheimer, and welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime streaming show, where we are pre-recorded. We're not at the archive. We are probably driving somewhere, which is why, and we're on the highway, maybe on I-95 at this very moment. And that's why I've picked the films that we're going to watch today. We have films about highways and different aspects of that. The first film we're going to watch is called Altered Environment, an inquiry into the American highway that kind of looks at the social, environmental, economic impacts of the highway and what it means, both good and bad. And it will say that, when I see a sign, stop the projector, but we're not going to stop the projector because I'm driving. So that's not going to happen. But anyways, enjoy.
America has long been a nation on the move. From its beginnings, the automobile and the American public seem to have been made for each other. The early part of this century saw many miles of highway added to the landscape. Today, we have nearly 4 million miles of roads in the United States. Not only are there more miles of highway, but the highways themselves have changed. As you watch the film, try to identify ways in which highways have contributed to the American. America has changed and still is changing. In what ways have highways helped to change America? Highway construction and highway use affect the environment in many ways. Here are some of the ways roads and road building affect the American scene. Perhaps you can think of others. The environment also affects the way highways are built and maintained. What are some of the problems that the highway builder must face? Highways consume large amounts of land. If all the pavement in the United States was brought together, we could completely cover the states of Massachusetts, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Delaware, and we would still have paving material left over. Or we could pave a road 12 miles wide from New York to Los Angeles. Many human activities are related to our roadways. How do these activities affect the environment? What effect might future road building have on America? What things should we consider when we plan highways?
All right, so this next film, I'm not quite sure of the title. This is what was written on the can, which is Driving Highways and Freeways, but the title's cut off. So I don't know when this was made, who made it, what the deal with it is. But, it's pretty basic. This is, for driver's ed on how to drive on a highway or a freeway and what to consider, considering that everything is faster. Your reaction time is slower, or you have to have a quicker reaction time. The ramifications of what it means to be driving, not being able to easily get a gas station without having to pull off the highway, things like that. So here's what I'm assuming is driving highways and freeways. Enjoy.
We can drive on them safely if we give proper attention to 5 main considerations. First, your car. Next, your speed. Signs and traffic signals. The road ahead. And perhaps the most important of all, you, the driver. Now let's examine these 5 main considerations one at a time. First, before you even plan a trip, how about your car? Is it ready for the road? What is the general running condition of the engine? Has it been properly serviced? Is the battery fully charged? Are all the lights working? Are the headlights properly aimed? What about brake adjustment and condition of the brake linings? Do the tires have a safe tread, and are they free of cuts, stones, and other foreign objects? They should be inflated to recommended pressure, and don't forget the spare. Windshield washers and wiper blades should be checked when the weather is nice, so they'll work for you when it isn't. Every operating part of your car should have regular attention and service. Neglect of proper car care can result in trouble on the road. This can be annoying, inconvenient, and dangerous. The second consideration is your speed. Wherever you drive, you will find legal speed limits that are permissible for normal traffic and road conditions. But if traffic is heavy or other hazards appear, your speed may have to be reduced below the legal limit. Your speed should also be reduced in bad weather. After traveling at the legal highway speed for a time, it may seem too slow, especially as violators crowd by. But don't speed up. It is illegal and dangerous. The posted limits usually represent all the speed you can safely handle for the section of road involved. This road seems okay, but it actually is rougher than it looks. At a few miles over the speed limit, the car nearly bounces out of control. Police drivers on 50-mile test runs at 10 miles per hour over the speed limit have found that travel time saved usually averages about 2 minutes. It isn't worth the added risk. But speeders are not the only motorists who cause trouble. Some drivers prefer a pace that is just too slow for other traffic. This encourages impatient drivers to take chances, to pass even when it isn't safe. Our third consideration for highway driving is signs and traffic signals. Signs will warn you of curves, grades, narrowing pavement, will indicate highway routes and give you other important information. Traffic signals are used primarily for control of traffic flow. They also can indicate a need for caution, a mandatory stop, and permission to complete a turn. Most highways are well posted. Good drivers heed the warnings and stay out of trouble. Always observe no passing zones and pass with care signs. 2- and 3-lane roads present special needs for caution. A curve sign may not tell how sharp the turn, but the warning should be sufficient. Slow down. Signs and traffic lights lead to our fourth consideration, the road ahead. On the open highway, you expect fewer intersections. But there can be danger from hidden side roads. In rural areas, drivers of slow-moving farm vehicles may underestimate the speed of your approaching car. Watch out for them and reduce your speed in time. While traveling at night, remember that darkness may conceal unexpected problems beyond the reach of your headlights or at the side of the road. Stray domestic animals, or even wild animals, may intrude upon your right-of-way. If this happens, slow down and be prepared to stop. If you use your horn, it might cause the animal to dash in front of your car. If you find yourself behind a slow-moving vehicle, try not to be impatient and don't tailgate or follow too closely. The other driver might stop suddenly. Also, if you're tailgating, you won't be able to see around to be sure the road ahead is clear for safe passing. Always expect an oncoming car on a curve or from the other side of a hill. If the road ahead is a freeway, some of the normal highway driving problems are eliminated. But there are some special points to remember. For example, there is a proper technique for getting on and off. And there is the need to maintain a safe position in your lane. Also, recognize the mental and physical effects of steady, high-speed driving and make periodic rest stops. When entering the freeway, proper pacing on the acceleration or merging lane will help you to blend safely with the freeway traffic. Remember, this is a moving operation. You must accelerate to the traffic pace and go. There is nothing more frustrating to drivers on the freeway than the newcomer who pokes his way in and continues driving at a surface street speed. If he thinks he's driving safely, he is badly mistaken. And he's breaking the law. You should know in advance which exit you will use and watch the signs ahead. Be sure to move into the proper lane in time. Many accidents are caused by drivers who make up their minds too late. If you should happen to pass your exit ramp, drive on to the next one, no matter how far. Never stop or back up on the freeway. It could be fatal. Reduce your speed as you enter the exit ramp. This is where you must slow down to match the pace of surface street traffic. When you're on the freeway, it's important to maintain proper spacing in your lane. Don't follow too closely. This is one of the major causes of accidents and frustrating tie-ups in rush hour traffic. When you must change lanes, check your blind spot by glancing back while signaling with your turn indicator light to let others know what you intend to do. There are times when you may be driving in someone else's blind spot, but it will help to determine his next possible move if you glance occasionally at his front wheel. If he starts to turn in front of you, sound your horn to let him know he's not alone on the road. Another point to remember when driving on the freeway has to do with the effect of steady, high-speed driving. As you become accustomed to the greater speed, you may forget how much faster you are covering the ground. If there is a change in the traffic or road situation ahead, you will have much less time to recognize the problem and to react safely. Before you plan to travel on any kind of highway, anywhere, first, be sure your car is ready for the road. As you settle down to pleasant cruising, remember to watch your speed. Plan the route you will travel and avoid trouble by obeying the messages of signs and traffic lights. Be ready for the road ahead for any problem that may appear. And finally, remember that you, the driver, must remain alert at all times, must recognize danger in time to avoid it, and must communicate with other drivers by signaling so they will know what you plan to do. If you will keep these important considerations in mind, then you can safely drive on any good highway or freeway anywhere.
Okay, so this next film is called Nights on the Highway, and it's another film that's made for talking about driving on the highway, but driving on the highway at night, because those considerations and things are very different. You don't necessarily have street lights. You might have to deal with animals. There's other things, and this is an older film. I want to say that this is probably from the late 40s, early 50s. I'm sure a date will pop up. But here's Nights on the Highway. Enjoy.
Nights on the Highways is a complimentary title that we of the American Road Builders Association gladly give to all people who drive safely at night. But the people who know the most about night driving, the men who by their record of safety have earned a place at the top of the list, are the men who drive the heavy interstate trucks. True knights of the highway in every sense of the word. These truckers go out of their way to help others on the road. The driving public has come to know them as the most courteous drivers on the highway. And with all of this, they have established some of the finest safety records in the country. The cross-country truckers have confined themselves for the most part to driving at night. And since night driving offers more dangerous problems, these drivers over a period of years have become the most expert night drivers in the world. Some time ago, the Interstate Commerce Commission, working in cooperation with the trucking companies, established a set of safety regulations designed to make the interstate truckers the safest driver on the highway. Rigid enforcement of these regulations brought the desired results. For dependability, endurance, courtesy, and skill, we will look far before we find a class of drivers who handle themselves and their vehicles with greater safety than the men behind the wheel of the big interstate trucks. To help all drivers understand some of the problems of safe night driving, which these men have learned from many years of experience, and to make after-dark driving a real pleasure to all, we offer the principles of night driving which have been developed by the interstate truckers and which have helped them win their enviable record for safety on the highways.
Nighttime. Time to hit the open road. Time for these giants of the highway to pull out from their terminals and carry their loads of freight to destinations hundreds of miles away. And the man who's going to tool one of these big babies over the night roads stuffs a shipping bill into his pocket, climbs into his cab with no more concern than if he were just going to the corner grocery, and rolls out to face the night and the highway. No matter what emergency he may have to meet and conquer, he'll bring in his load on time, meeting a schedule that requires the utmost care and safety in driving at night. These men know that night driving is different from day driving, and they understand the principles of safe night driving. Let's see for ourselves what some of these principles are. A white cat and a black cat both seem gray in the dark, and so do arms and hands and fingers, because what we see depends on how much light there is to see by. So for safe driving at night, use your stoplight as well as hand signals. If this man has a bright light flashed in his eyes, he is momentarily blinded. But fortunately, nature has given our eyes adjustable openings, which soon automatically close in a bright light like this. But while it takes the pupils of the eyes only about 1 second to close up, it takes them sometimes 60 seconds to open wide again after the bright light is gone. Expert night drivers know this, and therefore always obey the rule, dim your lights when passing, even if the other fellow doesn't dim his. The top of this table, like a paved road or any such dry surface, absorbs a great deal of glare from headlights and road lights. The dry surface isn't shiny enough to reflect much light. But if the surface becomes wet, the water reflects light up into the driver's eyes, making it difficult to see. So the safe night driver has another rule: slow down on wet pavements. All these words are equally prominent, but if one of them isn't always there, we suddenly notice it more than any of the others. It is natural for people to notice things more when they're not always there. The night driver bases an important rule on this principle: blink your stoplight with your brake. As far as night driving is concerned, we have only as much road to drive on as we can see. If our headlights are dim or the passing beam is on, the road we can see is short. If our headlights are bright, the road is lengthened. But no matter how bright our headlights may be, they give us only a limited amount of road to drive on. On hills, the road we have to drive on is even shorter. And on curves, we cannot always see the road that lies before us. When we are driving along at night, we are safe only so long as we can stop within the distance we can see ahead. If we are driving too fast for safety, we will not be able to stop within the limits of the road that we can see. At night, the road we can safely drive on moves along only within the path of our headlights. So expert night drivers always remember the rule: keep within your headlight beam. And last of all, Mr. and Mrs. Jones illustrate a night driving principle which is familiar to all of us. They have been driving until late at night and still have 60 miles to go. Mrs. Jones is anxious to get home and wants Mr. Jones to finish that snack and get back to his driving. "All right," says Mr. Jones. "It's just a case of keeping awake for another hour or so. Let's go." "Look out, Mr. Jones. You didn't see that chair, did you?" "Well, Mr. Jones, here's a suggestion. There are some dandy tourist cabins across the road, and a nice clean bed would look pretty good right now." "That's the idea, Mr. Jones. You'll be home first thing in the morning and safe. don't drive when sleepy. And so, if we remember these simple rules, the rules that govern the most expert night drivers in the world, we too can make a fine safety record for ourselves and fully enjoy the pleasures of night driving.
Okay, last film. And this one is probably the longest, most patriotic commercial for Greyhound buses you'll ever see. This film is called Freedom Highway, and it is celebrating American history via a long Greyhound bus trip that's going through kind of the highlights of different places across the United States. And we get to see reenactments. We get to meet all these characters. It is straight up. It's what we call a sponsored film. So it was sponsored by Greyhound Bus Lines, and it has entertainment value. So it would have been shown maybe on television, maybe in a theater, maybe like at civic groups, things like that. But it's an ad for Greyhound. And an ad for America too. How great America is. So here's Freedom Highway. Enjoy.
Never seen such a war. Johnny Rep don't get you, the Indians will.
You don't get this California gold through. General Grant will have our scalps anyway. Push them through, Sergeant.
Yes, sir, Lieutenant.
I sing as I wander along on the lonely road. There's a song in my heart as I'm toting my weary load. Over mountain and desert and valley, with the wind for a compass I see that I'm on the right road, then mine is a light load for me. Thanks to the heroes before me, I'm free as the breeze. I go wherever I please, with my song along Freedom Road.
Gone are the dark days of the war between the states. Gone, too, are the rumbling wagon wheels on the old pioneer trails. Today, other wheels are rolling on the superhighways of modern America. This is a story of America and some of the people along the way. The people could be you or me or the neighbor next door. That is, all except one. The story begins on a California highway near San Francisco. Meet Jimmy Rollins of Seattle on his way to Washington, D.C. and his first Boy Scout Jamboree. He's getting a king-size thrill out of the ever-changing view of America through these big picture windows.
How's it look to you so far, son?
It's the greatest.
Well, take this highway, for instance. It follows the coast all the way down to San Diego. And then remember, it's the same road the Spaniards followed almost 200 years ago. Only they called it El Camino Real, King's Highway. Try and imagine how it looked then.
You mean with Spaniards on horseback?
In your own mind's eye, yes.
Fred Schroeder of Portland, Oregon, also has his place in this story of America. Summoned to the nation's capital to receive a medal for his only son, Fred Schroeder should be a proud man. He isn't.
Oh, boy, look at that.
Longest single-span bridge in the world.
Gee whiz. Aren't you even gonna look at it?
Look at what? It's only the Golden Gate Bridge.
Only. Sure doesn't look like the Old West.
Well, maybe not here and now, but they tell me you should have seen it 100 years ago. San Francisco was the Old West then. You see that street sign up ahead?
Sutter Street.
Behind that sign, I see Sutter's Mill, in the valley of the Sacramento. The year is 1848.
John Sutter's workmen were digging a new mill race in the river and found gold. Sutter tried hard to keep it quiet, knowing it meant trouble. But it was like fighting a prairie fire with a bucket. People came from everywhere, from way beyond the far Missouri, the Mississippi, and the Monongahela. Even the Rockies couldn't stop the rush for gold. Where there was no road, there was block and tackle, and just plain old willpower. Skimming over our highways today in air-conditioned comfort, it's hard to realize what those 49ers went through to get here. A lot of them didn't make it, but the rest kept coming. It went on until the river of the Sacramento and all the runs and creeks were swarming with men seeking California gold.
Gee, I can almost see it. Boy, I wonder what happened to all that gold.
I can tell you what happened to some of it.
This man is another figure in our story of America, perhaps the greatest of them all. Mark him well. In his way, he is to affect the lives of several people.
During the war between the states, both the North and the South badly needed that gold. Once General Grant sent a detachment to bring through a wagon train of it. They were massacred by Indians. It's all part of our American history now, Jimmy. History we can be proud of.
How'd you know my name was Jimmy?
Isn't he a little young for propaganda?
Well, I never thought of patriotism as having an age limit. Why shouldn't we be proud of our history, Mr. Schroeder? Even as late as that of Korea.
What do you mean by that?
San Francisco Terminal, 40 minutes for lunch.
Well, Jimmy, let's see what's on the menu, huh?
Bye.
So long, Jimmy. Say hello to the president for me. Where did I pick him up?
Lunch for Sacramento, Chicago, and the East. Now loading in Gate 7. All aboard.
Thank you.
That's your number? 14?
No, young fellow, that's my safety record. Like you earn a badge in scouting. That means I've driven for 14 years and never even dented a fender.
You must be pretty good.
Oh, there are plenty longer records than that. The men who drive for Greyhound are proud they've made it the safest transportation in the land.
Who's the proprietor around here?
Where to, please?
Philadelphia. Thank you. Hi there, General.
Hey, aren't you Bill Roberts of the Philadelphia Eagles?
Could be.
Excuse me. Oh. He's a professional football player.
Thank you.
Thank you. Fumble.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Wrong way Roberts does it again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Anyway, I don't have to be in Philly for a week to sign the contract, so I thought I'd see the country. I hear it's quite a country.
It is.
You live in New York?
I work there. I've been home on vacation in San Francisco.
Me too. What do you know? A couple of natives and we got to go out of town to meet.
Funny, isn't it?
Say, look, it's only a hop from Philadelphia to New York. How about seeing the big town together?
Why, I'll be pretty busy.
Oh, I see. Guess I was offside, huh?
Mind if we have a little talk?
What about?
You have a problem, so have I. I thought we might be able to help each other find the answers.
I know the answer to mine.
Are you sure you didn't look in the back of the wrong book?
Hey, Bill, look at this.
Excuse me, I'm public.
Look, there's another one.
Route of the Pony Express.
It's all right here in my book.
Riders of the Pony Express. That's right. Sacramento was the western end of it, you know.
And St. Joe, Missouri was the eastern end. Here it is. Listen. The first telegraph line had been strung as far west as St. Joe, Missouri. From there on, the mail had to be carried by stagecoach. It was 2,000 miles from St. Joe to Sacramento. It took weeks and months, and then they didn't always get through. That's when the Pony Express was organized. People said it couldn't be done, but it was. 80 daring young riders, many in their teens, and 500 thoroughbred horses. They had stations along the way so a rider could change horses every 30 to 40 miles. These pony riders would start out from St. Joe with a pistol and a prayer book and the Sacramento mail. No matter what the difficulties, the dangers, or the obstacles, the riders went through. Boy, was that terrific.
You know, you could almost see those ponies.
I wish I would have been living then.
How old are you, young man?
13, sir.
13. 10 years ago. He liked the West, too.
Who, Mr. Schroeder?
He was a Boy Scout. They couldn't wait to get him in uniform, either.
Easy, Schroeder.
Look at this guy. Don't you like this country, mister?
No, Bill.
If you want to fight for it, they'll give you a uniform, too.
I put mine away after Korea. Any more questions?
I think it's time for some answers, Bill. Mr. Schroeder's only son was killed in Korea. We just found out how. The boy's been awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. Mr. Schroeder's on his way to Washington to accept it.
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't know.
I didn't know anybody.
Congressional Medal of Honor. Gosh, that's the highest there is.
Is it?
You know, this is one of the few towns in the world that never sleeps.
They all come here to gamble.
Or because they have gambled and lost.
You mean?
I mean, a person ought to be real sure she's marrying the right guy.
Waldo's a fine man, and he has good prospects, too.
Waldo?
Besides, he's my boss.
Well, I'm sure he's a good, dependable guy, but do you have fun together?
Of course. Oh, well, not frivolous, but...
Oh, well, frivolous is the best kind sometimes. That's where I could be a help.
Where's the rest of your troop, son? They lost too?
No, sir. They went on ahead. My dog was sick, and I couldn't leave till he got better.
Oh, good for you, son. I like a feller I could depend on, even if I was a dog.
Say, aren't you Tex Ritter, the movie cowboy?
That's my brand.
I saw you get on at Laramie.
Have been on personal appearances, Denver and places.
I wish I could hear you in person. Well, could you?
Well, now, maybe I could. Just one short one. Did you ever hear the legend of the Alamo?
I don't know.
Did you ever hear of Davy Crockett?
Oh, sure.
Well, this song here is about Davy and the Alamo. Now, you try to imagine that you're in San Antonio, Texas, while I sing about it.
Alamo and the stubborn band that stood in the path of invasion. 180 were challenged by Travis to die. By the line that he drew with his sword when the battle was nigh. And young Davy Crockett was first to cross over with a gallantry fierce in his eye. For God and for freedom, a man more than willing to die. Aye, Santa Ana, we're killing your soldiers below, that men, wherever they go, will remember the Alamo. They sent a young scout through the battlements bloody and loud, with the words of farewell from a garrison valiant and proud. Grieve not, little darling, my dying, if Texas is sovereign and free. We'll never surrender and ever with liberty be. Aye, Santa Ana, we're killing your soldiers below, that men wherever they go will remember the Alamo.
Even our songs glorify senseless sacrifice. What good did it do those few men to fight on when they knew they'd all be killed anyway?
If I'd known the answer to that for sure, I wouldn't be here.
I don't understand you.
You will. Before this trip's over, I promise you.
Honest, Mary. That's the way it is.
Oh, Bill. Right when I thought I had my life all planned and ordered. Why did you have to come along?
I'm awful glad I did. Aren't you?
I don't know.
Now, that's why I like this kind of travel. To me, every mile of America is a magnificent mile. Especially when you can see it close up like we're doing.
But you've got to give me more time.
Time? Time I'm running fresh out of. Gee, Mary, I can't let you just walk out of my life. This trip will be over before you know it. You see? We're coming into Chicago now.
That's Lake Michigan.
Oh?
Yeah, that lake saved a good many lives once.
It did?
To look at it the way it is today, it's hard to realize that right here in 1871 was the scene of the most destructive fire there ever was. Thousands of people saved themselves by wading out into the lake, where the smoke turned day into night and the flames turned night into day. All because Miss O'Leary's cow kicked over that land. But the city rebuilt, bigger and better than ever, with only a few landmarks left to show where the great fire was. Well, I see we're pulling in. I'll be leaving you in Chicago. You can get off and look around if you want to. You'll have a little time here.
Well, then goodbye, Mr. Ritter. Just wait till the troop hears I rode this far with you.
Pleasure's all mine, Jimmy. Be a good scout. Well, goodbye, Tex. So long, partner. Say, I know where I've seen you before.
Was that so?
Weren't you in my outfit, the old 2nd Division?
Well, we'll have lunch in Cleveland.
Cleveland already? Why is it time flies so when you're happy and drags so when you're unhappy? Ought to be the other way around. Hurry up when you're unhappy and slow down when you're happy so you can enjoy it.
You're a funny girl.
I mean, funny peculiar or funny ha-ha?
I mean funny, wonderful.
Hey, Bill.
Oh, so it's pirates now, huh? You know, I've been down where a lot of these fellas used to hang out.
Honest? Where?
Florida Keys.
Keys?
Yeah, it's a string of islands off the southern tip of the United States. They're connected by a series of bridges, making a highway almost 100 miles long as the crow flies, stretching right out over the ocean, all the way to Key West. These islands were said to be part of the old Spanish Main. Like it says here in your book, among these keys and coves, buccaneers used to lie in wait till a fat merchantman came along or a rival pirate crew, whereupon they would grapple in a furious fight.
There's a lot of buried treasure down there.
Could be. Of course, the important thing is to recognize a treasure when you find one.
We certainly made good time on the Pennsylvania Turnpike.
You're getting in a hurry now that your trip's almost over?
Oh, no. I mean, I'm really enjoying seeing the country.
Well, remember one thing. In this country, a woman has a right to change her mind. Well, we're coming to another post house. Last stop before Philadelphia. Well, if we'd have been here 180 years ago, we might still have eaten Philadelphia scrapple and cherry pie. But I doubt if we'd have been drinking iced coffee.
No.
There wouldn't have been this many people, I bet.
No, you're right. Although the roads were all pretty well traveled in 1776, bringing delegates to the Continental Congress. They came from all corners of the 13 colonies, by stage, by colonial coach, and by horseback. Men who were on their way to keep their date with history. And naturally, there were delegates from Boston to report firsthand on Massachusetts' answer to the stamp tax. A secret organization of patriots. We'd call them underground today. The Sons of Liberty staged the famous Boston Tea Party. Disguised as Indians, they threw 3 shiploads of heavily taxed tea into the harbor. So the delegates were gathering in a building that still stands in Philadelphia. Their meetings were stormy and exciting. Some of the colonists felt they weren't being so badly treated by standards of the old country. But over here, the people were beginning to breathe the exhilarating air of freedom. It was a new idea in the world, and they liked it. But it was a dangerous idea to espouse. The signing of the Declaration of Independence, making all men free and equal.
Why so large a signature, my friend?
So John Bull may read my name without his spectacles.
We must hang together, or else most assuredly we'll all hang separately.
You can see that same Liberty Bell in Philadelphia today, in Independence Hall, where America became the first free nation on earth.
Hey, I want to go get some chewing gum.
Go ahead.
We better get back to the bus.
I imagine your son was a lot like that.
A lot.
I have an idea. You know, there are shrines and memorials to all our wars. America is still paying the price for liberty even to this year of 1900 and now.
Let's get to the point.
Gladly. I think we ought to take a short side trip, you and I. There's a bus waiting. Trust me. You'll be glad of it the rest of your life.
All right.
So it is that when the rest of the party rolls into Philadelphia, Schroeder and the friendly stranger are missing. And these two have a problem of their own growing more acute by the moment.
Okay. I'll stick around while you phone him.
Yes. Yes, dear. All right. Goodbye, Waldo.
Mary? Did you tell him about us?
I couldn't. Not just like that.
Maybe that'll help you make up your mind.
Thanks. It does. You and your football manners.
So it is with confused emotions that Mary returns to New York, to her pleasant career girl routine, and to Waldo.
Mary!
Hello, Waldo.
Welcome, thrice welcome. We better get out of here. I have something in this box for you. I'll take your luggage. Excuse us, please. I trust you feel completely rejuvenated. There are a great many things at the office that require attention. What's the matter?
Waldo, I've got to tell you something.
Yes, my dear.
Then I'll be going back to Philadelphia.
To Philadelphia?
You did say 3 o'clock, didn't you?
He better be here at 3, and he better sign that contract.
He will. We'll need the money.
Good news, honey. Here I am. Could tell the old man. Mary. But you...
Now, what kind of language is that?
Yeah, but Waldo. What about Waldo?
Does that answer your question? The ring never belonged there in the first place. It belonged to my mother, really. I just switched it.
Well, Bill Roberts, you've got the ball. Now carry it.
This is the mysterious destination to which the stranger has lured Fred Schroeder. What connection is there between this bit of Pennsylvania countryside and far-off Korea?
I still don't know why you wanted me to come here. I wanted us both to come here because there's a message here we both need.
What message? Who are you, anyway? Come to think of it, I don't even know your name.
Almost 100 years ago when he came to Gettysburg, it was in this very town.
You're comfortable, Mr. President? Mrs. Wills and I want this night to be as easy for you as it will be memorable for us.
That's very kind of you, Judge.
I'm afraid they'll expect you to make a few remarks, Mr. President.
I better save my few remarks for tomorrow.
Is there anything else?
No, yes, there is something else. Would you request the band to play Dixie for me?
Dixie? Mr. President.
Dixie, sir? Somehow I think it would be a fitting thing at this time, in this place.
Fellow citizens, the President is very tired, and he'd like to be excused until tomorrow. He asks that the band play Dixie. Dixie? Why, what does he mean by that?
Does he know that Gettysburg is in Pennsylvania?
Why, they seem to like it.
Why not? It's a mighty fine tune.
I think you can hear it here. Listen.
I don't hear anything. I don't
Listen. Beside that monument. That's where Abraham Lincoln stood to deliver his Gettysburg Address. You can hear the murmur of the crowd gathered before the speaker's platform. Now, they're quieting now. He's coming forward. You can hear him now.
87 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives, that that nation might live, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to the cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. That this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth.
Did you hear that, Schroeder? Did you hear that? That was the message we both needed. That these dead shall not have died in vain. They wonder sometimes, those who gave that last full measure of devotion, if the people who inherited this country are worth the sacrifice. Well, I've seen both now. I've seen the country and the people. They're worthy of each other.
You've made me understand, too. You have made me proud. Proud and humble.
I'm glad. Look after Jimmy, will you? I'll see you in Washington.
Of course. And I want to thank you.
I wanted you here with me, Jimmy. That's the tomb of the unknown soldier.
Is the guard always there?
Always. And over there lie other heroes. The unknown of the war between the states and other wars.
Is this where we're supposed to meet him?
I thought we might. He said he'd see us again. Come to think of it, he didn't say we'd see him.
He was kind of strange, but nice. I wonder what he does.
I don't know, Jimmy. But whatever it is, I have a feeling his job is done. And to think we never even knew his name.
His name, like the words of President Harding when he dedicated this spot, the name of him whose body lies here took flight with his imperishable soul. We know only that his death marks him with the everlasting glory of an American who died for his country.
Yeah, they laid on pretty thick in this one. that was wonderful. So thank you for tuning in today. Even though we weren't there, I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you like what you saw, please hit the thumbs up button or the like button, the subscribe button, share. Tell your friends about what we're doing because we love showing films to folks like you. And if you know more folks who would like this, let them know. You can also go to avgeeks.com and you can watch our 24/7 channel if you want more films. It has older lunch shows and also has thousands of films that we've digitized over the years. So, yeah. And you can also buy DVDs there. The other thing is an appeal for the Apple Shop Film Archive, which is kind of a sister archive of ours in Kentucky. And they concentrate on collecting materials about Appalachian culture. And they, since probably the 60s, they've been funding projects to document both audio and with film and with video aspects of Appalachian culture, like music, crafts, skills, some of the hardships faced by people in the Appalachian Mountains, all these things. And unfortunately, there was a flood, which flooded out their film vault. And so there's archivists there who are helping, but they're going to need help. And any amount of money, even if it's a minuscule amount. Instead of buying me coffee, I bought a big thing of coffee at this grocery store, so I'm set on this trip. But if you could consider donating something to them, there's appleshot.org/donate. They could certainly use the help, and I would appreciate that. So thanks for tuning in today. We'll be back again tomorrow. It'll be another pre-recorded show, but it'll still be fun. I might be driving tomorrow, or I might be sitting in a lake. I don't know. It's kind of the deal. So everybody have a great rest of your day, and we will see you soon. Take care.